Hello and welcome to Cricbuzz Live. Of course, we're here in the Cricbuzz studios, which happen to be in very, very different weather zones. I'm Gaurav Kapur. It is deep winter for me. With me is Ajay Jadeja. Summer's going out, winter's coming in for him. Hello.
Hello, good evening. This is how winters are in Goa.
That's right. And then, of course, we have live from the Bahamas, Dinesh Karthik, where it's always summer, with his beach shirt on. Rubbing it in our faces, yeah, here in the 16 degrees.
GK, you know how it is in Chennai? It's always sunny throughout the day, throughout the year.
I did say you're in Bahamas and you've yourself said you're in Chennai. It's a slight difference. I'm saying Marina Beach is better. It's better. Before all of you come tweeting at me with your ads, Gumai ke, please stop. I'm saying Chennai is better. Well, today the action's not in Chennai. A couple of days ago it was in Mumbai, and now short drive away is the Pune Stadium down the highway, and that's where the teams are. India and Sri Lanka playing this 3-match T20 series. India taking a lead in the first game, but geez, boy, was it close. By the skin of their teeth, by a hair's breadth. I am out of all similes now.
It couldn't have been closer.
Like that.
The last ball, if it hadn't got that little inside edge or it got 2 inches on this side, the ball would have flown out of the ground. So things could have been different.
Yeah,
but wasn't an exciting game. I mean, normally when you have close games, you think it's a great, exciting game.
Yeah.
But it was an odd game at start of the year.
It was a bit of a, it was a bit of a ghasita round. It's a ghasita. It's a ghasita game.
Ghasita game.
Ghis ke aaya thoda sa. But I'll ask DK. DK, there's a lot of talk now. People are saying that, unfortunately, a lot of the narrative is very result-oriented, right? And with result-oriented, you always laud the thought process. But what did you make of just the thought process? Because it was kind of, you can look at it in two different ways, can't you?
For me, personally, I thought it was a great game for India. And great game for one person there. I thought it was Hardik Pandya. I'm liking his clarity towards captaincy. Even in his post-match, he said that he doesn't mind losing the odd game because he wants to put the players and the team under pressure in bilaterals. And that is seen in the decisions that he is taking, be it the fact that he wanted to bat first. Yes, he lost the toss and was put in, but he wanted to do that. That is one. The fact that, a very interesting captaincy move that I saw in the game was Shivam Mavi in his second over comes and gets hit for 2 boundaries, one on the leg side, one just pumped over mid-off. But he still held on to the same field. That tells me there is a captain who believes in his bowler and his length. That says a lot. That's a small thing, but it matters a lot. Next ball, Dhananjaya De Silva tries to flick a ball, gets caught in mid-on. So for me, that is good. Generally, the captains would immediately put a deep square leg, pull the short fine leg in, do reactive moves.
Nice.
But he knows the plan. He knows there are areas that he doesn't mind his bowlers getting hit. And that I like in his captaincy.
Yeah, there is something, by the way, it's not a conspiracy theory, but the way he spoke before the game and after the game, it's a very long-term captain speaking. It doesn't seem like a one series captain. It feels like that sort of the prince, or rather, he's in waiting now, the king in waiting, as they call it, for white ball cricket. Is it fair now for people to think that he's kind of the chosen one whenever Rohit steps down?
I don't know. when Rohit stepped down, we'll wait and watch when that happens. But, in a year, just look, not even a year. 9 months ago when you guys were doing auction last year, what was the conversation? Whether it was here, whether it was in the cricketing world, he wasn't one of those you considered, that somebody can lead a side or somebody who can take responsibility. But, as you said, results matter. And, he won IPL last year. And from there on, he's just grown. I think he's grown as a player, as a human being, and has evolved. And what I think is most impressive in the Indian cricket is that not only has he evolved, but Indian cricket has evolved enough to accept somebody like Hardik Pandya also as a captain.
Yeah.
Because Indian cricket captain had to be a certain kind, you had to, talk in a certain way, you had to be a responsible human being. But it's nice to see that somebody is enjoying, at least I'm enjoying it. I talked about it in the last game and I said, we are in for a joyride. Yeah. This year is going to be fabulous if he's going to lead one side with Rahul as, the coach and Rohit at the other end. So as an Indian cricket fan, I think we are for a joyride and we will see a different kind of approach.
Yeah.
Whether we stick with it long enough when the results don't go right, that we'll still have to wait and watch. But
Yeah.
I will not say Prince in waiting, because in India, the waiting changes pretty quickly, man. It goes like this every couple of months. Don't forget, the Prince in waiting was leading the Indian test team a couple of weeks ago.
Correct. KL
And
Rahul.
he's been in waiting for a while. You've had many others who've, led in the last year. So
But
I'm very happy.
He's the blue chip stock right now. We can only talk about the market on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, well, in today's market, he is the blue chip stock. People are shifting from Rohit to him as well.
Yeah, well, the one thing, I'll tell you what I like about Hardik is when you see him on the field, it's very calm. There's a very non-stress kind of atmosphere around him. And, well, that never hurts. Never hurts. Always good when you have a non-stress environment. Look at me. I make a non-stress environment around me. Ajay Jadeja, Dinesh Karthik, even the 3-4 robots we have to, operate all the technical equipment here. It's a very non-stress environment. All right, what has happened? India, well, they won the first game and I won the toss in the second game and decided to bowl first. That's interesting, Dinesh. That is also, by the way, I have to say that maybe the first time in my life I've called you Dinesh.
Maybe even I was like, oh, he's called me Dinesh. I was like, little taken aback for a second.
Yeah, I just realized it. I just realized it. Yeah, but bowling first.
Fair enough. I guess, a series that can be won in the second game, why not? I don't see any wrong in that. Generally, we know that Pune is a very interesting wicket. It's played over the years to be very batting friendly, but the last IPL that happened there, some tough wickets there. It's slow, it turned a bit. So batting second is not such a bad thing. I mean, to be fair, it could be, and it could end up tougher. But for the moment, I think it's a decision which will suit India. And, the most interesting fact is I'm looking forward to one player there, one of my favorites going around amongst the youngsters, Rahul Tripathi. I'm really looking forward to that.
And he is making his debut today. That's right. So Rahul Tripathi makes it to the team. We've been talking about it. We're talking about him and him becoming a part of the T20 setup, getting a chance for a while now, especially after his IPL performances. But he gets a chance today because Sanju Samson injured. The ball seemed to be following him around in the first game. And one time when he dived, got his knee done. So he's in Mumbai getting knee scans. And in his place, Rahul Tripathi gets a go. And there's another change in the team, which is that Arshdeep is now fit. So Arshdeep comes back in. And he comes in place of Harshal Patel. I guess harsh call maybe for Harshal, but the fact is that Shivam Mavi, after that game, can't take 4 wickets and then be dropped on your debut. And then there's Umran Malik, of course, who bowled lethal, that 155 delivery. So Arshdeep comes in place of Harshal. But let's talk one by one. So let's talk about Rahul first. Ajay, your thoughts on him?
No, I mean, congratulations. I mean, this is a day you wait for. He's been around for a while, and a very popular player, like Dinesh also said, a likable man. Everybody loves him in that cricketing circle. And, he's been around and never got a game. So, you always feel for somebody and say, at least give him one game. But I think from his point of view, you'd look at it and say, okay, give me one opportunity. I won't let you, leave me out ever again. So I hope he can go on and do that. Because, to be part of this Indian batting lineup, there's so much talent, there's talented players. And, in a way, he's fortunate to have got this opportunity, because if it hadn't been for Sanju getting injured, he probably wouldn't have got a game again. Yeah. And luckily for him, it's in Pune. So these things do matter. When you're making a decision, you look at these things and say, okay, if you're going to go in, because there's Washington Sundar who did exceptionally well in, New Zealand when we were there. So he's still sitting out. So he's lucky, fortunate to have got an opportunity, and I wish him luck and, probably make the most of it. Because if it's about getting one opportunity, one chance to play, then be no fun. It should be that now that you've got a chance, make sure that the guys who are waiting, keep waiting.
And in Pune, by the way, so that's why he played under Stephen Fleming when there was the rising Pune super giant. One super giant. So he played there. And DK, I've got to tell you, I spoke to Stephen Fleming once. I bumped into him and I said, this boy, Rahul Tripathi, is good. Much younger that time, many years ago. And he said, this guy is non-stop, right? He says, even when we have a day off, I'll tell him, Rahul, today is your holiday. Yes, coach. No training today. Yes, coach. You trained already, didn't you? Yes, coach.
That's a very, very apt story about him. He's like that Duracell bunny. It never goes down. It's fully recharged throughout the time. When he gets into a net session, Literally from the start to the end, he's wearing pads, he's batting, he's doing all sorts of drills. He's actually a sight to watch in a net session. I mean, you can put a camera on him and you will thoroughly be entertained for the next 1 hour, 1.5 hours, however long that net session lasts. He is, he's an absolute fun to watch and really hardworking. If you go into his room, he'll have a suitcase filled with, he'll have protein, he'll have glutamine, he'll have everything that is required for you to have a proper body. And you can see he is literally like a chiseled person ready to play. Interestingly, a lot of Maharashtra players are very obsessed with that. I see Kedar Jadhav was another example who did that. So Rahul Tripathi is somebody that I'm really looking forward to because I think he's given performances over a period of time in IPL against good attacks in different teams, and the fact that in domestic cricket he has done fairly well. Interestingly, of all the seasons, this one season for him domestically hasn't gone that well, but he had a phenomenal IPL. So I'm really looking forward to seeing him. And most importantly, he plays the new age template.
Yeah.
Come ball one, he's looking to play shots, doesn't wait, doesn't take too much time, he's ready to hit a boundary from ball one. And most importantly, he is not averse to risk taking in batting. And that I like a lot about.
I love that point you make about the risk, because this is something that was questioned a lot in the last 12 months with India's T20 style. It was criticized for being very old school and it's not catching up or going with the times. And, England, the world champions, kind of setting the barometer for that, or setting the parameters rather for that. That's what you need, right? You can't be risk averse in this kind of cricket anymore. And again, I'm not using your favorite word, aggressive. Yes, I'm not using it because that's not what we're talking about. We're talking risk taking again is after you there's context, right? After you suss the situation, the game situation, the ground situation, what's around you, and then you take risks accordingly. So I think that's what DK is talking about, and that's the new age kind of batting technique.
Look, I mean, it's actually not a new age thing. I mean, if you go back into the past, the greatest players of their times were the best strikers of their times. When you go to the 80s, Viv Richards would be the greatest player, 90s. Every period of time, the greatest players were always the most aggressive players.
Yeah.
And it's natural that if you're an aggressive player, the opposition's always on the defense. They're trying to hold back. But how consistent you are with it. So when you talk of and we go into this template, you'll have to look at players as well. So say Rohit Sharma, for an example. When he hits a six, there's no risk taking. That's his natural ability. Yeah. So if it's your natural ability where you are a striker, then there is no risk taken because that's the style that you play. That's the consistency that you bring in. I mean, I shouldn't bring in, Cheteshwar Pujara played at a strike rate as well. Yeah. But when he plays at that strike rate, he's taking a risk. That's not his natural game.
Yeah.
So if you want to play that way, I've always said that's the best way to play. But then pick players who are, naturally adapted to that rather than sticking to the same players and then trying and asking them to play in a different way.
You have to cast it correct. If that's your story, you have to have the right players playing the right parts. Today, there is a bowler who's been playing his part really well. That's Arshdeep. He's played about 20-21 games, but he has just been fantastic. He's another youngster, DK, who, how you meet some people and you say, oh, he's an old soul. There is a maturity that belies their age. Does Arshdeep come across as that? Somebody who's like that to you?
I think when he has the ball in hand, I think that's what you get a feeling when you see him and the way he operates. But off the field, he's a typical 20-year-old, a joke a minute kind of guy, a terrific guy. I really like his sense of humor. I'll be a little biased. I laugh a lot of his jokes because I find it really funny. I generally find Punjabis very, very funny, and he is right up there at the top of the list. He makes some really witty statements. I found it. Him and Ravi Bishnoi are always together when they were in the team, and I used to spend a lot of time with them. And they were, top two in terms of the sense of humor quotient that's available in Indian cricket at that point of time with all the pressures. Those two are right up there. I guess the pressures for them were very different. But on the bowling front, I thought he really did well in the World Cup. And why I say that is, even though there was a buoy and he was bowling well, this boy with an average Asia Cup that happened, and the fact that, he dropped a sitter and there was so much pressure around him, and obviously somebody who was exposed to social media, the way he handled those situations tells me that he has a very steady head on his shoulders, and I like that about him. You could see how he prepared for the World Cup when he went back to NCA, did his training, came back, started out in the South African series, did well there. But in the World Cup, I really thought he was the best bowler for Team India, and by a distance at that. Not only with the new ball, but also with the old ball, and that was what was really heartening to see. When it came to the big moments, he was ready for it, and that was good.
Yeah, and again, you were talking about batting and the winds changing and, your preferences changing. In bowling as well, I guess today if Arshdeep comes in place of Harshal, I guess that it's hard for Harshal. I can understand. But that's what it is. If you're playing for India, competition is hard.
Well, I think players will have to get used to this. I mean, all of us from, olden days, feel a little or think differently because that's how the world was then.
Yeah.
It took you longer to come in. You had to wait much longer. You had to, wait your turn. And then when you got your turn, you probably got enough time with it. And if you were an established player, couple of, bad games, you were still around. Whereas now things have changed. I mean, look at, 1 year. I mean, the man with us. I mean, he's an example as well. I mean, he came in and then he was left out when, he hadn't even played in the last few games.
Yeah.
So this is what we see now. I mean, the numbers that you see here also tell you, because Harshal's had a pretty different role. And when you put numbers like that, he looks, different because, he plays a different role.
Yeah.
He does a role for you. He bowls 3 at least, if not all 4 towards the end of the innings. So his numbers will never be as good as somebody who bowls at the top or in the middle. So I feel a little, what's the word, sad for him to be left out so early in that case because just before the World Cup, this was a man that you were, hoping that is going to make the big difference in that World Cup, play your crucial role right towards the end of the innings. He's had a couple of bad games. He didn't have a great game in New Zealand or here. I can understand that. But that's how it is. So, but the thing is that you come back very quickly as well. So I think modern day players probably are okay with this system. And but sitting here you feel Harshal Patel had worked many years to get into that side. He had a fabulous IPL last year, then he got injured, I know, but now that he's had few bad games, he's out again. He may not get a chance again, but that's modern day cricket, and I think the boys today are pretty used to this. They are happy with this, what happens. It's on that day, next week we'll see what happens, and they carry on.
Is it true though, DK, in the cricket establishment, are the youngsters have they reconciled to the fact that it's shorter runways now for everybody?
I do tend to agree with Ajay Bhai to a large extent. I think because of the number of players that have played over a period of time, they know if the big guns come back, they have to make way. And that's a sad thing, to be honest. A lot of players have been affected. Some have grabbed the opportunities, some haven't been able to because, there are various things that goes on when you bat or bowl in an international match. And I think it's hard on a player. But also, I don't think this volume of players have played in the previous decades or so. I think in terms of just the numbers that have got the Indian cap has been very, very high. The scheduling has been such that a lot of people have been given the opportunities, and a lot of people have lost the opportunities as well. A new generation of players coming through already. In Harshal's case, it might look like it's a hard call, but to be honest, I think he will tell you himself that he hasn't had the best of times in the lead up to the World Cup. Obviously he didn't play the World Cup, but before that he was there. He got injured. Just before that, he hasn't. In the last 22, 23 games that he's played, 11 have been over 9. And out of that, the 7 or 8 have been over 10 runs and over. So he's not yet cracked the international code yet. And I think we have to be fair to Hardik Pandya and Rahul Dravid here and say they've made some calls which we can always debate about. But this one, I think you have to hand it to them, say it's a fair call. I mean, I wish Harshal gets another opportunity somewhere down the line. But for this game, I think it's a fair call.
You got to see though, with Arshdeep, Shivam Mavi and Umran Malik, these 3 pacers, you probably have your youngest or least experienced pace attack in a very long time. But that's great to see.
I mean, there was one instance that I can never forget. Is I think 2003 or 4 when India did badly in South Africa and we came to India, and in a test match, you had 3 guys who had never played test cricket. They all opened bowling. It was a young man from Pune again. DK probably would remember. There was Sanjay Bangar. And there was one more. Tinu, was it? Tinu Yohanan. And who was the young man? Iqbal Siddiqui.
Oh.
Those guys played that test match. India won that test match and they never played again.
Wow.
So, these are sometimes you get these, bursts of young guys. And I think young guys coming in is great because you get to see talent. But nurturing is also part of what the system has to do.
Yeah.
Which is, I would have left out Mavi and said, you've had a great run, great start, this, that. But, there is a system that you need to create. But since you haven't done that, now I think this is the new system. You do well today, you stay, next day somebody else comes, you can always come back next month.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that's great because, the thing with Indian fast bowlers is they reached a point a couple of years ago where shake a tree and 3-4 would fall out. And then so much cricket, few got injured, some of the top guys who are guaranteed selections not playing, some of your seniors, some new guys come in, then suddenly you go to Bangladesh and you're like, wait, where are my fast bowlers? Like, I can't even put 3 together to play a game. So it's quite interesting. Is there an abundance? Is there a dearth? They're confusing right now. But there's no confusion for Sri Lanka. They may have lost the game, but they've decided that that is their best 11. And that's great thinking. The best 11 was good for one game where they fell short by a couple of runs. That should be good for the second game as well. So from the top, Nisanka and Mendes, then Dhananjay De Silva, Charita Salanka, Bhanuka Rajapaksha, Dasan Shanaka, their captain, is brilliant. And I'm saying it because I know I don't have to say any more. Ajay is a big fan of his, so we will give him the floor after this to speak about Shanaka. Vanindu Hasaranga, Chamika Karunaratne, Mahesh Tikshana, Kasun Rajita, and Dilshan Madhushanka. Well, a few things here to talk about. First of all, I think, and I'm feeling this sense of deja vu. It's like we discussed this in the Asia Cup. We're coming back again. It's like there was India and the number 4 in ODI cricket, and now there is Sri Lanka and their middle order in T20 cricket, right? So do we have some footage from the Asia Cup? Can we just play that here now? No? Fresh discussion? Okay, fine.
brand new, yeah.
Fresh discussion.
Deleted the last year's file.
Hard drive gone?
Gone.
File has been deleted. Okay, great. We'll start again.
Lanka. No, I will repeat what I said, in fact, last time as well, which is nice to see a team because Asalanka is a player that they believe in. Yeah. They actually left him out for that final.
Correct. Yeah.
But through that tournament, they kept. And then they got him back in the World Cup as well.
Yeah.
So there's a belief that this player is a good enough player. And they're sticking. Unlike our side, when in spite of us winning most of the things, our teams have been changing. They've gone to the other side. They've got, a style which they're saying, let's stick to our players. Let's work around the same players because they actually don't have the same kind of pool that we have that, if somebody's not doing well, you bring somebody back. And I think they think he's a special player. And there are times that, and even in the past, they had a former captain called Marwan Atapattu. I don't know with kids watching today would even remember that name. But Marwan Atapattu started his test career with 4 zeros.
Oh.
4 zeros back-to-back at debut test match, then next match. But they still stuck with him because they believed that this is a player. I think Sri Lanka has always had this. I remember Kaluvitarna and I having a chat when Sangakkara came into play. Yeah. He retired early. He said, no, this guy is a great player. This one will end up becoming a much better player. I should actually give up. So I think they're being a smaller country with a smaller pool. They know each other, they know the skills and strengths of each other, and it works more as a team whereas here we're fortunate to be such a large country. Yeah. We have 5 selectors and each selector has to work for his zone, which is not the case anymore.
We have 5 selectors? No. When did this happen? What? I missed the memo.
We'll find them back again. So I think that's their style of play. And so we are debating Asalanka and saying, but they've stuck to him. And when they leave him, then they'll probably leave him totally. Yeah. Then they won't bring him back.
But they'll have to because, DK, in all fairness, it's a long enough rope. He did really well in the World Cup 2021. And that's kind of the rope that he's been kind of swinging on. But, like all ropes, it ends.
GK, you can ask anybody who's captained a team. They will have 1 or 2 players that they really trust. It will feel like...
Did we lose DK?
He doesn't want to talk to us?
Yeah, he left us with a really amazing line because I was going to ask him, when you were captain, who were those players for you? But I have a captain here, so thankfully I can ask that question to another captain. That happens, right? Sometimes, it's like a CEO of a company. Somebody you're leading any team in any field. You always have a couple of people who you really trust. And it's not like he's playing his cousin or anything, right?
Yeah. It's just that you like a certain kind of player. Yeah. There is a style of play. So let's go back into, forget, my period was a very small period, but even the long periods who've had, Mahendra Singh Dhoni, Virat Kohli, or Saurav Ganguly, there will be players you can pick and say, listen, this guy he would never leave out. So Mahendra Singh Dhoni created probably Ravindra as a player.
Yeah.
You know, he would stick with him. If you go back to Saurav Ganguly, there were players where, you know,
Middle order, there was UV, there was, I mean, UV was one of his,
So or Viru, when he got him to open, get him play everywhere, because you want a certain kind of player in your side who's different from everyone else, and he's not succeeding. Doesn't mean that you let him go at that time. So captains have to make that call, and that is what I call selection. Not what we see these days, which is rejection. Okay, whoever comes in, the captain has to make a call.
Yeah.
He can, you know, they play, you know, if everyone did well every day, then there was no problem.
Correct.
But then what is the difference between ex-captain and a Y-captain?
Yeah.
So captain is there for his thought. And what he said is absolutely right, that you have certain players that you want in your side.
Yeah.
And, you know, things may work, things may not work. If it doesn't work, the captain looks silly. But if it works, then they say, oh, look at him, you know, they backed him.
Yeah.
Rohit Sharma is a great example. When in 2008, 9, 10, 11, there was a period where a lot of people thought, no, he should not be in the side, in, out, in, out. Then Mahendra Singh Dhoni put his hand on him and said, listen, we want you to open.
Yeah.
So that changed the thing. So it will always be the case, but captain will have to stick to the decision that he makes.
Yeah.
If his own decision, he lets himself down, that is when you start questioning.
Yeah, but that's the point. I mean, I completely agree with you. I agree with DK that you want that kind of player to be there. But there is, I mean, you can't quantify it, but there is always certain number where you go, all right, now this lack of delivering has gone on too long and now I have to move on.
That would be if you as a team not winning, or you know, but if you're winning, then you should be able to carry that player for as long as you want.
DK, sorry, we lost you after that.
Are you back?
After that line.
Interestingly, you couldn't hear me, but I heard the whole conversation. And absolutely right. I completely agree with what Ajay Bhai said. I think that's how captains work. They have a few players that they trust a lot, and you know, you can definitely see Charit Asalanka as one such player for Dasun Shanaka. What I really like about Shanaka, we always speak about good captains. He is actually one of the best T20 captains going around in the world. He does his homework, he does his matchups, and most importantly, he's won an Asia Cup with this Sri Lankan team when really nobody had given them a chance. That is number one. And the fact that he's done that and produced results over a period of time, he is able to command the respect to the selectors and the administration when he wants to back players like, you know, Charit Asalanka. He brought back Rajapaksa, even though they declared him unfit. He brought him back into the system, and we saw what he could do. He's brought back Nuwan Pradeep in the system. So many such players who he's backed, and he's given results with those players. So, you know, as a selection committee, as the administration, when you look at it and go, you know what, he's taken Sri Lankan cricket from where it was slightly dark to a much better place today. And I think that is what you'd expect from a good captain. Has he able to do that in Test cricket? Not so much, but T20 cricket, he's definitely made Sri Lankan cricket turn a corner, and that is very, very important. In the general context of world cricket, they are better placed than what they were, say, a couple of years ago.
Yeah, this is, I mean, I'll tell you this, Cricbuzz Live here, we're a Dasun Shanaka fan club. We are. All of us completely. I mean, the way he plays, the way he captains, and it happens sometimes when you are a team or a country that has kind of not been, they're World Cup winners, they're not been performing to that standard. Sometimes it kind of goes a little below the radar. But as DK said, he won an Asia Cup. So that's not something to be laughed at. In fact, we have an Ask Cricbuzz Live question, which has something to do with that. So I'm just going to pull that question up right now. It's, about, this is Hariharan Sukumaran. So Hariharan, thanks for your question. World Cup winners like Sri Lanka and West Indies are failing to be competitive, has a big impact on cricket's future. Do you agree? ODIs are proving to be a snooze fest. What can SLC board do to return back to glory? Okay, so this line, ODIs are proving to be a snooze fest, which just seems completely out of context in his question. You've just jammed it in. I just want to tell people for the record, that was not written by me. Hariharan actually wrote that. We're just going to put that aside right now. But we're going to talk about the fact that teams that are World Cup winners, they have to be more competitive at that stage. Otherwise, world cricket loses.
Oh, certainly do. But which country is not a World Cup winner? Australia, West Indies, New Zealand's the only one, I think. Have they won? No.
The World Test Championship final.
But Sri Lanka's, Sri Lanka's won, Pakistan's won, India's won.
Yeah, so they won a World.
Everyone's won the World
But
Cup.
New Zealand hasn't won a World Cup, but they didn't lose the 2019.
Yeah, so
my favorite.
So I mean, just for that part of the answer. But yes, I think Sri Lanka and West Indies, of course. West Indies for us growing up. Our generation, West Indies was the team.
Yeah.
It changed the way this game looks today. I mean, how everybody looks at this game, plays this game, is what West Indies brought to this game.
Yeah.
And they are a special side, and it's unfortunate. I'm a big fan of theirs, and it's unfortunate that the way they've gone, the way the game's gone. And with Sri Lanka, I think was never. I mean, even when they won the World Cup, which was in '96, and it hurts even till today. But to give them credit, it was very similar. Almost 9 players out of that were playing in '92. All they did was turn around the whole team, not change the players, change the way they played.
Yeah.
It was almost the same side. The captains changed and they played differently and they won there. And they showed us that there is another way of playing this game as well.
Yeah.
So I am happier to see more teams being competitive and playing in their own styles rather than everybody trying to play only one style.
It's a great
because
point. Yeah.
that is when it becomes a snooze fest.
Yeah.
Or one day or 2020, because last game was 2020, but it wasn't that exciting. If all teams tried to play the same way, it would not be fun watching this sport.
True.
Or all players trying to play the same way. As a fan, as a player who watches the game, I think these two teams are a very important side. What they need to do, I wish I knew more about how exactly they're working. But at the moment, to be honest, I don't see the talent there. And when you don't have that kind of talent, what you get is what you get from Sri Lankan team now. That they have excellent skills of striking the ball, hitting the ball, or playing. But nobody is getting that big score. They won that Asia Cup. It'll be interesting to see numbers at lunchtime. How many of them have ever got to a 50? How many of them have ever got to a 100? They, as a team, are still managing to do something.
Yeah.
So what happens is then there is no competitiveness within that side. Nobody waiting in the wings. So sometimes you become lazy like me, and maybe that's their biggest problem.
But listen, today they have a golden chance because India is on this unbeaten streak now. Today, Sri Lanka can break that. And they've done that before. They have won in India. So today they can do that. So I guess for them to not just counter Hariharan, Sukumaran, his question, but this general thing that, can they have a big impact? What's a bigger impact than coming to India and beating India in India?
Absolutely. I think that would mean a lot to them as well. The last time they beat India as well, they batted first. So that's a good sign. The last time they beat India was in Pune as well. So they have some history going for them today. They do have some history going for them today. I would like to think that Sri Lanka has the potential to trouble India. But in bilaterals, I do think that India is a far superior side. I think we play with a very free mindset, with a very different mindset. And for them to get across that line is a mental barrier more than the game itself.
Interesting, DK, you say that we play bilateral with a different mindset. Could you explain what is the different mindset?
More pressure during World Cups.
There's a lot more to lose when you play a multi-nation tournament. I mean, when the stakes are higher, when losing one game literally shuns you out of the tournament, the stakes it takes a lot of pressure. And let's be honest, among all the cricket-playing nations, India is the most followed, most watched. So obviously the pressure on us is far, far higher. It's like Brazil and Argentina and England playing football. I mean, the spotlight is on them, and whenever we go to a multi-nation tournament, the spotlight is on us, and rightly so. I don't think we can run away from it. I believe it has come to a stage where try changing the person or change the person. You got to go down that route. I think that is the fact, and bring in players who play the way the captain and the coach want them to play, and that is where Indian T20 cricket is headed for sure.
Excellent. Okay, I like that. Well, if this can be a competitive game today, and if Sri Lanka wins today, that means that it really sets up the final game. And obviously, if you have a tiebreaker and if you have this blockbuster happening then, so I'm not supporting Sri Lanka today. You may look at my colours and saying maybe I'm supporting Sri Lanka a little bit. I'm not. I'm just saying competitive cricket. I don't want Ajay Bhai to have another Ghasita game. I cannot handle this accusation anymore. Okay, we've got a joy factor question, and those are never Ghasitas. He never phones them in. Let's see what Joyda has for us today. Question is, in December 2022, kuch hafta pehle, who beat Brian Close but was still far behind Holly Colvin? Okay, my first question is,
Who's brand close?
who are these people? Are they family friends of Joy Bhattacharya? What's going on? Why are they beating each other? Was it a Christmas brawl? Did they have too much to drink? If you know the answer to this question, tweet it at us. Hashtag Cricbuzz Live, hashtag Joy Factor. Send us this question. DK, do you have the foggiest?
Yeah, I was just thinking yesterday randomly on my feed there was this darting competition that just came through. That's the first thing that came to my mind. Were they talking about these two people? But I would be very surprised if that's the question. I would think that Cricbuzz focuses on cricket, so maybe this question has something to do with cricket.
Yeah, we're not Dart Buzz. Cricbuzz. All right. Let's see if you can get a bullseye by answering that question. Let us know. And if you do get it right, we will personally come to your house. We will pick you up on our shoulders, chant your name, and carry you around your colony. Because that's how much respect we will have for you. Maybe we won't do it. Maybe we'll just enjoy to do it himself. All right. Before we go, my favorite, the guessing game. Sri Lanka batting first in Pune. DK, you go first.
73 for 2 in 10. Oh, you want the power play score, right? Sorry.
No, I want the 20 over score. When did you start this 10 over? How did you?
T10.
You know, I've been a little rusty, I must admit. So let me just think about it. I think
You know this is a 20 over game, right? Just checking.
for sure.
Okay.
I mean, that shouldn't surprise me. Let's say 174.
174. So he thinks they're going to get 10 and over in the back 10. Because we know what he's thinking about 10
first
overs.
10.
I put it together, you see. Mental math. What are you saying?
I think they'll need more if they want to win. If you want your team to, I mean, not your team,
Yeah,
the one you're supporting.
Please, everyone is coming at me on Twitter. Please, Ghumai no.
They'll need a little more than that. I stick to my number.
183?
Inflation, 189 now.
189?
Yeah, man.
174, 189. So I'm going to sit smack in the middle at 182. That's it. All right. Those are our guesses. Do you have a score guess? Don't tweet it to me. Say it out loud. I can hear you. It's a little louder. Come closer to your phone.
210 he's saying.
Chalo. Oh, like the BBL game today.
He
It's
said
220
210.
plus. Could be that as well. Anyway, we're going to go right now. We're going to see you at the end of the 10th over for Cricbuzz Combox. We have that, right? Today? Oh, Ajay and DK are doing that? Oh, okay. No me? No? Oh, so sad. Thank you for watching Cricbuzz Live. We'll see you in a bit. Bye-bye.